Ooh, ooh, ooh. Check out this here. Make sure I got the volume up. Yeah, buddy. Oscar, ¿qué pasó, hombre? Hey, Kim. Hey, everybody. Let me get these gents in here. Peter. Oh, man, how are those tacos? What's up? All right. Carlos. Did you get your Baileys? Amigos. You're going to be on tomorrow, brother. ¿Qué pasó? Hopefully this works. Okay. Yes.
How's it going, buddy?
Hi. What's going on, brother? Hi.
They're just here for the cilantro.
For the cilantro. Yeah.
There you go.
That's good for you. All right. Let's see if we can get, we got J-Mac in the house. Yes. We did something different tonight. We had Chinese. No Taco Bell tonight.
We had nachos.
Cheers.
¿Qué pasó, hermanos?
But I did get a Dr. Pepper in honor of Ken. So.
Nice. Gardner, how are you, brother?
Good. How are you, J-Mac?
Good, man. Good. Angelo, good to see you.
Hermano.
Yep. Hi.
All right, let's see if we can get Ben in here.
Yes, the star of the show.
That's right. Video. We should be popping in soon.
How's everybody doing? It's Friday.
Great. It's cold today, though.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yes.
Hey.
You see me okay?
Right. Let me pull this
Thanks
up a
for
little
having
bit
me on.
because I can't reach.
Go, Gadget. Terms.
I know, right? I'm going to need one of those reaching sticks. Got the backdrop right here.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well done. That looks
Good.
great. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good. I just got back from a conference, so I'm a little run down. Been away for a whole week, but I'm back today. So
Nice.
wanted to talk a little bit about.
We'll take it easy
shaving.
on you, brother. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
we got good
Sounds
line
good.
of questions. I know J-Mac's got some, Gardner's got some, so yeah, definitely. How's the audio coming through? Because I know
Sounds
Instagram
good.
was just tripping this whole past 2 weeks.
Yeah, everything sounds good to me.
Okay. All right, I just
Good
want to
on
make sure. Okay, so yeah, so we have Ben from the House of Mammoth. Welcome, sir. This is a great honor. And we have Gardner from AKA Brushworks, my twin brother, and J-Mac, the Red Island Shaver, the Don of the Canadian Mafia. So it's going to be a good time. So let's get into her. We have a $20 gift card to the Razor Company to give away later. So that's going to happen. But so yeah, Ben, go ahead, man. Introduce yourself, and also, first question, how'd you get into wet shaving?
Yeah, so welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. And thank you guys, all three of you guys, for having me. And especially to the Razor Company for sure, for not only having me, but also carrying our stuff in your shop. Appreciate it. So I'm Ben from the House of Mammoth. And I got into wet shaving actually originally. A friend of mine was into it first years and years ago. I think he read an article on the artofmanliness.com, and he said, "Oh, you gotta smell all of my soaps." I was over there, and he sort of brought out a box of stuff, and I was like, "I don't know, I'm interested in smelling another man's soaps," but I don't know. He was raving about all the different artisans, everything from Barrister Man to Declaration Grooming, and all the different things that he had picked up He had sterling margaritas in the Arctic. He had Southern Paradise. And he was like, look, all the shaving soaps all smell different. And so, different from the norm of what you would think of, Gillette and so on and so forth. So it took a little bit of convincing, but I finally went ahead and dove in, and I got my first kind of starter set from Maggot Razors, and tried out the Lather Lavanda from Barrister Man. That was actually my first soap that I tried, along with a few other samples, Chiseled Face, and so on and so forth. And really, the rest is history. It took me forever to figure out how to lather those things. I'm like, am I doing it right? But eventually, kind of, got the hang of it, and yeah, and it's been a really good thing. One of the best things for me was finding that there were a lot of other people that are interested in this. So it wasn't just something that I could do myself, but it was also connecting with other people. And so that's really what started all this thing was, yeah, the shaving,
Nice.
but really
Yes,
people.
for sure. Can confirm on that.
Yeah, 100%. I feel the exact same way. The shaving's great, but and all that, but it's the community that's like the thing that keeps me going.
Yeah, I know definitely the one thing. Yeah, the shaving is awesome, and it's just everybody else is it just makes it that much more fun. I mean, are you like I don't understand what you're saying? Like, are you going to go to another person's bathroom, shave den, and smell their Barbasol? It's just not going to happen. Nothing against Barbasol, more
Yeah.
power to them. But how many places would you see like like a piff table full of Gillette Edge and Barbasol? Probably not.
No.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think it's weird to smell used soaps, but I get it now. Like, there's so many things out there, and so the curiosity is there.
Yeah,
But thank God for samples.
yeah, yeah, for sure. There's plenty of them here. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
yeah, just a couple.
I'm glad more
So,
artisans are doing samples. That's definitely helpful for me anyway.
yeah, yeah, that and vendors. So shameless plug here. um, J-Mac, what did you have, brother?
Well,
So,
that's a good topic to delve in on. I'm not 100% sure on House of Mammoth, but samples. Do you guys offer samples?
Yeah, I mean, for a long time we didn't. It's just because we're kind of a small artisan. At the beginning, I was making everything myself. I have a full-time job running a large nonprofit summer day camp for kids, and so I was basically just making a batch of soap whenever I could, and dropping that through WCS, and then it would be
Yeah.
gone within a few minutes, and that was it. People, so forget about samples. It was just, I couldn't even keep up with making, full size soaps. So fast forward a couple of years, big thanks to Vita. I got introduced to Vita through the shave community and a few of the groups and so on and so forth. And we became friends. And just a top tier artisan, not only great maker, but also a great person, with great integrity and hardworking and so on and so forth. So I sat down with her and I said, look, people really want my soap, and what do you think about making, being sort of the busy bee manufacturer, and I'll teach you kind of my formula that I come up with, and I'll send you my fragrances and my tubs and labels, and you basically just be the kind of machine, because I just didn't have time to sit over a big tub of soap and make it. The other thing is that I have a young child, so just having all of that stuff around, caustic lye and stuff like that, hot soap, it just wasn't really smart. You need to have good ventilation, and you need to make sure you're not touching stuff, that's going to burn you and things. So it was never going to be a thing where I would start to do it myself full time. So the samples really only came after we sort of ramped up. It took a long time to go from me making a batch and then selling it out to really getting everything stocked to a level where it could be more available full time. Forget about stocking vendors even. So even that, the samples are pretty much the most recent thing that we've made besides new releases. But we've gotten a lot of really great feedback from it. We also do EDP samples. So for those of you who don't know, we're not just a soap maker. I consider House of Mammoth to be a perfume, an independent perfumer house first, and then we sort of put the fragrances in a number of different products as well. And it just so happens that we've started, of course, in shaving, and so that's always been our main focus. But one of the things that's like sort of my focus now is making the fragrances for the different soaps, and partnering with Vita really helped me do that. There would have been no way for me to really dedicate this much time to coming up with new fragrances and so on and so forth without her.
Excellent. Yeah, because I remember, before you partnered up with Vita, like you said, you come up with a new scent, and it would be much anticipated, and then as soon as it's released, it's sold out, and then of course we're all shaving degenerates, and everybody's like, oh man, I missed out, and I can't get it. There's gonna be more, and that's it's really great to see things get scaled up to the the point that you have samples, you have stock in at vendors, and people can easily access your product, right?
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. I really wanted to make sure that it was available for everybody who wanted it, but it's just difficult to judge. Partly because you mentioned, everyone being shaving degenerates, and FOMO and so on. It's very hard to predict too. So if I made X number of soaps and sold them out really quickly, well, who's to say that if I had made double the amount that would sell out to? And so it's just really hard to predict. And I've seen it happen before. People get real excited about a new release, and then a month later, it's like, wait, who? What? What was that? Oh, I forgot about that. And so it's really, really difficult as a small artisan to make a whole lot of product and then have it sit on the shelf. I remember having a scent that didn't do as well, and the fact that it took longer to sell meant that I just had to wait until I could sell everything, and there was a financial issue there, because then I couldn't go buy materials to produce the next batch. So for anyone who's a beginning artisan, I mean, this pretty well, I'm sure, is, well, if I make 20 soaps, 50 soaps, 100 soaps, it's really no way to really tell. So I'm glad, to be at the place now where even if we don't sell a whole bunch right at the beginning of a new release, people typically come back and they buy it at their leisure. And I kind of encourage people to do that too. It sounds a bit weird for an artisan to say that, but you don't have to rush out and buy our stuff. If you have a billion things to use already, or if you have a bunch of our stuff already too. Some folks that I know, they only use Mammoth, and they use up a whole tub, and then they go and buy another one, and that's totally fine too. And I love those people just as much as I love the people that buy every single thing and have, a pile of soaps that they even forgot about.
Guilty.
Well, I'm sitting here, Angelo is
No
owning it over
regrets.
there.
Gardner, you had a question, brother, from one, because I know you being an artisan yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a few, so I'll try not to hog all the time here. But first of all, I wanted to say that I know you've done many releases for good causes, and that's near and dear to our heart too. That's something we try and do. So I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that you do that. So good on you. But as far as questions go, as a fellow creator, how do you prioritize? How do you keep track of? And how do you sort through all your ideas?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I would say is you really have to be kind of ruthless with yourself. So yeah, I feel like for any of us that decide to become an artisan, you have to have enough of an ego to really believe that you're worth putting something out, or that your quality of whatever you're making is good enough to put out there. And so sometimes people fall into the trap of saying, well, I'm so great, so whatever I make is going to be great. And forget that you need to be disciplined. and you need to edit yourself. And if anything, the best creations are the ones where somebody really edited and said no and didn't just take the first idea that popped into their heads. Um, and and what ends up happening is that, for folks that just churn out a bunch of stuff, there's a lot of excitement because people get excited about new releases, but then that excitement fades pretty quickly when you disappoint people over and over again, or even when there's just too much out there, you know. So for me, I'd much rather put out fewer scents and really take my time and consider them and make sure that they're all top tier, um, or as good as I can get them. And so sometimes that means delays and it means frustrations. I have ideas that have been on the back burner, and I start to work on them, and I'm just not getting anywhere. And so I have to set them aside again. Um, there's no sense in selling, a half-baked idea or something that's just decent, because I feel like everything you put out is a representation of who you are. And so what you hope is, that every new thing you put out equals or betters the things you put out in the past. So I know some of the stuff that I've made in the past wasn't as good as the stuff that I can make now. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is just trying desperately to stay in people's minds by just churning out endless streams of products. So I do have some fragrances that I've been wanting to release for a long time. So for instance, people have been wanting me to re-release Shire. And I actually even bought labels for Shire and Tusk last year. I was going to put it out in the spring. But I really, 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 really felt like I could do better on that fragrance, even though people love it. And so it's taken me until this year, now it's a year later, and I've finally finished Shire 2. So it's a complete reworking and rebuilding of Shire, the same concept, the same notes, but with much better perfumery skills, and execution is much, much better. I also had a fragrance that I was working on called Rumble, and I was excited about it. I thought I was going to be able to finish it by Black Friday even, and people could use it through the winter, and it just wasn't where it needed to be, So I was very tempted to just take it as it was and be like, this is better than most things out there. Let me just put it out. And I just couldn't, so I'm still finishing that one up too. And then I have 2 more that were scheduled for, the next couple of months. So now that I'm almost done with Rumble and Shire is done, I'll think, well, what about these other 2? Can I really put out 4 in the space of a couple of months and expect people to buy, So that's a constant conversation that I'm having with myself. Always talking to my wife as well. We're sort of partners with all of this too. And just trying to figure out what the best way forward is. I try to stay connected to the communities too, and just kind of see what other people are putting out so that I'm not, duplicating things. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know. Does that help to answer your question a little bit, Carly?
Sounds like a great plan to me. Sounds like you got good ideas.
Yeah.
I also had a question. I noticed that you said that you don't do this full time. You also have a full-time job. So what do you do, and do you find it a challenge to balance time between the two? And what do you do to keep balanced?
Nice.
Right. Yeah. So for me, I grew up very kind of simply. My parents are sort of paycheck to paycheck, and I was one of 4, and we just didn't have extras, But one thing that sort of taught me was the value of the people around you and the time spent. You could have a good time. You didn't have to get on a plane and go on a fancy vacation. We just spend time with each other, So for my job, I try to keep that the main focus, along with my family, and sort of those are sort of linked because, my job helps me take care of my family. And then whatever I do with Mammoth is sort of like my fun time. It's my free time, fun time. So it also means that, same thing, new products or whatever it is, it takes a backseat to my job and it takes a backseat to my family. So if it's something where it's becoming stressful, then I just set it aside and I just don't do anything. That's why you don't really see me with a sophisticated marketing plan. I'm either just putting up whatever, hey, this is new, or just putting up some crazy meme or whatever, and half the people probably don't know what I'm talking about. Um, so that's really the only way I can do it. I have to keep my head clear, and then the free space, if there is free space, I mean, making something creatively requires kind of like separating, for me at least, it requires distance from the day to day. So I need to be able to say to my wife, hey, is it okay if I, you know, on Friday, I'm going to take a half day from work, or I'm going to work into the night and just kind of lock in and lose track of what time it is and just kind of get in that flow.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're not really going to get, you're not really going to get into
got
a
some
good
questions
spot,
here. And so, a couple right off the back we have here. Addison Road. What's the group's favorite House of Mammoth scent? I'm about to make my first purchase. Indigo mood, done. That's one of mine. Voices is very nice.
Yeah, I mean, in the history of Mammoth, Indigo followed closely by Huga and Sonder, and then I think
Back,
Tobacconist.
back in
Those
it.
are our top sellers. And it really just depends on what sort of thing is in your wheelhouse. We've got stuff that's well loved, and we've got stuff that only a few
Tonight,
people
night
love.
too, but I like it
So,
also because it's green. So
yes,
yeah.
tonight is a good one too.
And you guys?
I had a sample of tobacconist. That was it was good, really good,
Yeah, I like
really really
tobacco
good.
thought. I'm going to use that tonight, in fact.
Nice. All right, let's see what else we got here. Greg Tardif. Do you support reintroducing mammoths to the world?
I don't know where you would put them. Sort of feels like the world is pretty crowded right now, and they're pretty big.
We put
I
one
don't
right there
know.
in Greg's front yard, right there in Wisconsin. um,
Probably have more of them in Wisconsin than I do here
Yeah,
in New
that's right.
York.
yeah, this one's here. Doo 1980. Can you speculate on new projects for 2023? That's a good question. That was one of ours. It's good.
It is.
Oh, we lost Gardner. He'll probably pop
Uh,
back. Go ahead.
Man down.
yeah, so for 2023, wait, are you talking to
Yeah.
me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That question for me, what 2023 releases are going to be. So it's really those four that I mentioned. And I'm sure we're going to bring back Sonder and Kryptonite for the summer season. I am almost done with Rumble, and Shire 2 is all done as well. So those two are going to be the next two that come out. Either they'll come out together, or they'll come out sort of back to back. And then the other two that I'm working on, I won't give you the names, but they're both in the realm of aquatic, but they're more like ocean aquatic. So a little bit of a history for me. I grew up around the corner from the beach here in New York, and so that was always kind of like my escape place. I would go there for calm, and there's nobody there for most of the year. It's just rocky and dark water, seaweed, and and birds and so on and so forth. And it was just a great place to go walk and relax and so on. So I I remember smelling, sort of aquatic fragrances and thinking, man, I hate this. It doesn't smell anything like the ocean, and fast forward learning about perfumery, I sort of realized what materials were really popular in those sort of 90s blue aquatics. And so now I understand why they all sort of smell very similar and why they don't smell like the ocean, or at least my, impression of the ocean. So um, it's I think it's telling that you've seen I haven't really put out an aquatic in the history of Mammoth, despite having released, 12 or 15 cents. And so now I'm planning to put out two back to back. One of them is they're going to be very different from each other, but they'll both be in the realm of aquatics or oceany type scents. One will be sort of a windy walk on a cool morning by the ocean on like a rocky sandy beach. Which is basically like that beach I used to go to as a kid. And the other one is more of a Mediterranean type, so much more citrusy, but with that watery, aquatic, a bit of Aleppo pine and some wet stone and stuff like that. So it's going to be very fun. And I love the idea, kind of an Easter egg, at least for myself, is that I'm putting out two aquatics. Neither of them have that material that was so,
Yeah.
defined the 90s aquatic genre. And on top of that, neither of them, or I'm sorry, they share zero
Oh,
material
nice.
between each other,
Very nice.
as well.
Oh,
So it's going to be very fun. Two
I
aquatics
love
at very
aquatics.
different ends of the
That's just
spectrum,
in the
and
realm now, but so I'm
neither
really
of which
excited
smells like
for
that.
those.
yeah, me too. Because I live on the east coast of Canada, on an island surrounded by salt water, and I love aquatics. But like you said, no aquatics smell like. Well, even if I'm nowhere like I'm surrounded by water, but like I'm not like really near the water where I live. But if I go out the front door, you can smell salt air. It's just omnipresent where I live, and
Right.
and you don't even think about it, but it's part of you, right? And I've yet to smell an aquatic that smells like when I go to the beach here or when I'm fishing in April. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That sounds like
Yeah,
perfect.
here in
Awesome.
Michigan, I mean, it's all lake water, so it's a little bit different. But I mean, our roads, the potholes are all bodies of water anyway. So when it rains, the only missing is the seaweed. You got
Nice.
everything, all the other elements there: salt, giant bodies of water, missing vehicles. um,
Well, I actually went to college in Chicago,
oh
so
yeah,
I
see,
have fond
you know
memories.
what's up.
Fond memories of the lake.
Addison Road. Well, he's asking Carlos a question. That's funny. Maybe he thinks I'm Carlos. I don't know. Does TRC carry Mammoth EDPs? I don't know if they do.
I don't think so. We haven't really sent the EDPs to the vendors, except for we've sent them out to Top of the Chain in Canada, and then we've sent them to
Okay.
Okay,
Anticultura
nice.
in the
So
EU.
Addison Road's a Canadian. So there you go, Stacy. Top of the chain.
Um. Oh, nice. Tiki. Heck yeah. Mammoth logo on this reminds him of looking at a mammoth through the window of the Millennium Falcon. Nice. Love it. Um.
Nice.
Floppy wants to know. Sloppy Badger, will you have anything special for the Maggers meetup this summer in June? Which we're very excited to be there.
Oh, that's a good, yeah. So I'm going to the meetup. I know you guys are going to be there. Going to the meetup, and I'm actually working on something right now. But the fragrances that I mentioned, those four releases, are really my top priority. But this one's kind of on the back burner, and it kind of goes back to the question we were talking about before with Gardner's question about sort of how do you say no, or that kind of thing. Every fragrance that I put out usually takes a number of iterations. So for instance, Rumble, I'm on number 30. And then there's variations within. So just in my own kind of numbering system. So what it means is that I end up with tons of little, I typically work in small batches of up to about 4 milliliters at a time. And because I need to be able to measure them accurately, and I really can't get too much accuracy below that. Let it macerate, and then kind of put it into some alcohol and let it sit for a little bit before spraying and wearing it, or spraying it on a strip or whatever. So that means basically for Rumble, I have 30 little bottles of fragrance. So I started to think a lot about kind of failure and how embracing failure is a big part of perfumery, but a lot of artistic pursuits. Refining, smelling something and thinking, well, what's missing? Did it come through? Is something too strong? And then kind of doing some more research, going back to the drawing board, being willing to throw something out, redo it, whatever it might be. And so all of those little bottles are just sort of everywhere. So what I did was I took all of them and I mixed them together into one big batch. And they're all, high quality perfumery materials that were used in developing about 10 different scents in the last couple of years. And so I've been thinking about using that as kind of a base, and then kind of spraying that on a strip, smelling it, and getting inspired to see if anything comes out of that, and see With that as the base, can I tweak it? Can I add something to it to turn it into a fully formed and finished fragrance? And I thought that would be a really fun thing to bring to a meetup. Maybe not so much as a release, but something that's just kind of, because you can be there and smell it, and you don't have to think, oh, Ben's selling me his garbage. Um, but no, be able to really smell it and say, the story behind it is just kind of celebrating the failure and celebrating the process, really, of getting there. So yeah, if I can make it work, great. But like I said before, if I don't have time, I just won't, and
I
that'll
like
just
it.
sit, I guess.
Like it. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. Fun time.
Oh, 100%.
Tiki. Some more about the. There are him and Greg Tarter forgot about these mammoths. See what you started. There's a group and partner with the FBI that just wants to resurrect the mammoth fort like Jurassic Park. Oh my gosh, that would be funny.
That's probably the only way you can do it is put it
Yeah.
in a zoo, make it a tourist
Yep.
attraction. But then I sort of argue, well, then what was the point of it? But I think I do remember reading something about how they wanted to resurrect them, but put them in, in the permafrost area in like super northern Russia, and let them kind of roam free where they used to, and that for some reason that might actually help
Yeah.
the land up there somehow. I'm not really sure. I'm not a
Latherhog wants
scientist
to
in that way.
know which scent that you've created are you most proud of so far?
Oh man. Well, if it's Latherhog asking, I really have to say that it's voices, right? Um, I'm proud of all of them, really. You really just, there's no regrets there. I really feel like they've all been really great. And I remember remember when I did Sounder 2, for instance, I remember feeling proud that I was able to revisit an idea from a couple of years ago and redo it with much, much better execution. And I remember thinking, this smells as good as the indie and niche fragrance houses. And that kind of just was amazing to me, you know. Um, for certain reasons, I wouldn't go put that on in a post on Instagram. Wow, I'm so amazed that I'm as good as these, people. But really, because how many times you smell a
Yeah.
fragrance and you're like, not really for me, but you can see that the
Yeah.
execution is there and, that kind of thing. So for me, what gets me the most satisfied, and Voices is a great example. I've never smelled anything that had mango and sticky rice. And so it was such a challenge to figure out, well, how do you get there? There's not a lot of information out there on how to create sticky rice or mango or whatever. There's not like formulas that you can just kind of like make them and put them together. Don't get me wrong, there's suppliers who hire perfumers and they make fragrance oils for use in like bath soaps and stuff like that, or candles. And I'm sure you could find one that's called mango and one that's called, well, maybe one that's called rice. I don't even know if you could. But that's the kind of thing that gets me really excited is to be like, wow, I made something that no one else has made and something that I didn't even know if I could make. So that was fun. The satisfaction is really just in kind of the journey through the whole thing and then getting to the end where it actually gets to somewhere that's enjoyable. And then people end up, and when people like it, hopefully they like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it like you said, it's well curated time, and how you set that aside, and when you execute it, it comes out, brother. It shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other question, if I was really good at this, I'd say the best thing is the new one that's coming out next.
Yeah, and that's yeah. Now there's one from Sloppy. Yeah, I know. Get on it, John. Any more collaborations in the works? Smash was fantastic. Well said, John.
Yeah, I mean, I was so excited that I got to work with Will. We've been working on that for over a year, actually. And it was really cool the way that came together. I think when the pandemic happened, it just kind of hit one of the things for me, like I said at the beginning of this interview, which is that the connections and the
Yeah.
people was really the biggest part of it, you know. So the idea of being able to work together and do so many collaborations, even before I did like sort of soap and scent collaborations with people, I've always done brushes, you know, a brush with collaboration with a brush maker with basically every drop and every release, and it's amazing to me. At one point, I sat down and I thought, let me make a list of all the people that I've collaborated with, and you know, obviously Vita and her brand, you know, Chicago Grooming Company, all the brush makers. I mean,
Yeah.
anyone from Rob at Chisel and Hound to, you know, Scott Declaration, Grizzly Bay, you know, John Grizzly Bay, Andre who's here, um, Peter Wolf from Wolf Whiskers, Bradley, Black Eagle. I mean, it just keeps on going on and on and on. So then it was really fun to then kind of go into a different direction, you know, not just doing collabs with you know, group type soaps or whatever, although I really
Mm.
love the Lather Talk collab too. But to talk with Scott and Cody and figure out the Cerberus release, and that was really,
Yeah.
really fun. Kind of like a three-way collaboration. And I know, you know, since that's definitely a lot more common, you know, kind of multiple artisans coming together and doing that. But it felt like at the time it was something that really hadn't been done, and it was really cool. We really enjoyed it at least. Um, so I don't know. I mean, the tough thing about collaborations is that it takes more work. You would think that it was less work when you have two people working, but it's a lot of coordination that has to happen, a lot of communication. And it's one of the reasons why I love to work with Rob from Chisel and Hound is because, you know, we've had a long relationship before, and so when we do a collaboration, I can just be like, "Hey Rob, you interested?" And he'll be like, "Sure." And I go, "Okay, make whatever you want." Or like, here's the label, you know, and I know it's going to be to my taste. Um, it's hard to develop those relationships. You
Yeah.
know, it takes a long time to have that trust and to really know that they're not going to make your brand look bad by putting out something
Yeah.
that's, you know, kind of halfway
Well, I know one
decent,
brush maker
but
that I'm
it's going
pretty
to be
partial
good.
to, so just
Um,
saying.
yeah, I'm not accepting new brush makers at the moment. No, but that's part of it, right? Is so do you only work with
Yeah.
the people whose work you like the most, or the people that you know? And so I've definitely spent a lot of time kind of going after people that I respect and that I really want to connect with in the early days. Now at this point, I feel like I'm so overloaded with just trying to keep all the balls in the air. Like once we went full time, everything was just like crazy busy, you know. Like I said before, like every scrap of free time is just dedicated to trying to figure out, you know,
Yeah.
how to continue moving things forward. Um, so no collaborations planned right now. Although the soaps that I mentioned, the scents that I mentioned, I do have collaborations for brushes for those, and so that's going to be fun at least. And then I'll have another
Mhm.
collaboration that I'll announce at some point. Or why don't we go ahead and give them
Yeah.
a little something? But yeah, so we're gonna have some Lancaster towels for both Rumble and Shire, and so that'll be really nice. Brown one, green one, and you can pick whichever one you like and pick those up with the drop, and they'll have the you know, the Mammoth logo on the leather
Nice.
key fob.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
that'll be
Yeah.
pretty
Rush
cool.
Shaves asked that. Sorry, he was late to the party. When can we expect Rumble? That's what he asked.
So yeah, so Rumble, I'm actually in the final testing, the kind of confirmation phase, I guess I would call it, where, you know, I've been working on something for so long and I think it smells good, and then I send it out to a few people. And it's like excruciating having to wait. Once I think it's
Yeah.
good, I just want to put it out, you know. But you know, sending stuff out is very helpful, and you know, just confirming, you know, what do other people think. Um, and so I have a few people that I trust, and I just send them stuff, and whether they get back to me or not, at least not a problem. But like, hey, did you get that? You know, and they give me their feedback. I also have versions of the other two out with testers too, and so it's same thing. It's a long and slow process. So it's looking pretty good. I have all the materials ordered for the production batch. So if all is well, and it seems like it is, probably be producing the fragrance this weekend. And it takes a little bit of time to mix and macerate and so on, and then I'll ship it out to Vita. So it won't be tomorrow, but it's not going to be
I'm
next
interested
year.
in the
It's definitely coming
entire
out
thing. 'Cause
soon.
me being Hobbit side, that's right up my alley. So
That's right.
Ken can confirm.
Well, Shire's already out there. Shire's already well, it's in the mail right now. It was supposed to be delivered today, but once that gets to Vita, then Shire 2 tester set will be made. She'll ship it to me, and then I kind of evaluate to make sure that it's to standard in terms of sense
Mm-hmm.
strength and performance and stuff like that. So, and then once it is, I'll give her the go ahead, or I'll give her modifications if she needs to tweak something, and then we'll
Nice.
be in
Yeah.
production.
Heck yeah. Let me see here. I just want to double check, make sure I got everybody up to speed. Yes, Ken's got a really good question, and that leads up right into what I think all of us wanted to ask about. What was the catalyst, pretty much to motivate you to get started to donating from every set sold to fight human trafficking?
Oh, well, that goes back to well over a decade before I even started wet shaving. Actually, had a chance to go on a trip to Thailand with some friends and kind of saw firsthand um, what is one of the greatest evils in the world. I had no idea that it was happening at the time. Basically, it was child sex trafficking. And I remember thinking, man, I got to do something. And so I kind of, stayed connected with people that were fighting. And for instance, a few of my friends started a group called Love 146. They're based out of New Haven, Connecticut. And then another group of my friends started Justice for Children International, which became Restore NYC. And so I stayed connected with those two organizations in particular, and actually had done something collaborative and somewhat mammoth related, but it was an elephant name. But I had a record label back when
Oh, wow.
MySpace was around. So basically, I was really in the music and art scene at the time, and so I just got together a bunch of people that I knew that were musicians and recording, and put together a website. And that kind of thing now is just like whatever, like anybody could do that. But it took quite a bit to spin that up. And I was a school bus driver at the time. And so that would be my thing. I'd be up till 2 a.m, just working on the website, working on emails, working on projects, trying to get people to contribute. And then basically accepted donations and then would send people a link to download. Back then there really wasn't any sophisticated technology. So literally the link to download was the same link for every person. I was just sort of like, don't share this because it's the same link everybody that donates gets. There's no way to do like unique ones. And then people would download it and they would play it on their own, MP3 player or on
He's
Winamp
old
or whatever.
school.
Yeah.
Back then. Super old school. So when I was wet shaving, the other thing that I forgot to mention is that I actually had made bath soap before I even got into the hobby of wet shaving. My wife and I made bath soaps, and it was just kind of a fun thing that we did, and we used them ourselves, and we gave them to our wedding guests when we got married and stuff like that. That's where the beloved scent came from. It was actually the scent of our wedding soap. It just felt natural. I'm kind of a curious person. Like, I'm always taking things apart and trying to figure out why things are the way they are. And, when I was a kid, I was reading all sorts of autobiographies and trying to learn about people and what made people tick, and whatever. So it was just natural for me to say, well, I'm going to try to make bath soap, shaving soap. So then when people were saying they wanted to buy it, I was like, well, I don't really feel like starting a business right now, and I don't know if it's good enough either. And at the time, Ruds was really big too, so I was like, well, maybe Ruds, we'll review it and it will get a high score. I don't know. I was thinking I didn't really want to jump into something that seemed very just fraught with drama and all sorts of craziness. It just wasn't what I was about. So the one thing that I realized though was, as people were trying it and saying they really liked it and so on and so forth, I was like, well, maybe this could be some way to give back. Um, and at the time, you know, my son had just been born, and it was kind of a rough time. You know, anybody that has a newborn can remember just kind of like just how your
Yeah.
life is turned upside down. You know, plus there was a lot of rough stuff going on in the world as well, in the country and so on. And so I was losing my community, in-person community, and so the wet shaving groups just kind of helped me a ton, through a lot of that stuff. And I thought to myself, maybe there's something that I can do to give back to the world through this. And I thought about the organizations that I had known and tried to support for the previous 10 years, Restore NYC and Level 146. And I thought, well, maybe if I put out the soap and just use that to donate and raise awareness. And I thought, it's not really going to sell much, because who wants to be reminded of, the worst evil in the world when they're shaving? But it ended up really resonating with people, and I think I might have just not realized just how many wonderful people there are in the hobby that really do care
Yeah.
about making the world a better place. And they supported Mammoth, and then on the back end, they also ended up getting a really nice thing that they could use and remember and share and talk about, and all the other great things that we get to do in
Yeah,
the hobby.
it's definitely something. I mean, there's so many different, projects, but also, I mean, like the Never Alone projects, stuff that, the people when they were in need, like Raza recently, Kim Gray, I mean, just Taylor Alejandro, I mean, just all these amazing people and causes that can get supported and circulated through something like wet shaving. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
People, and
Yeah, I agree. And it wasn't new when I started doing it either. I think about like Chris from Katie's Bubbles had done a ton of fundraisers and things, and others too. And so it's just cool to see. One of my biggest inspirations early on was Chad from Talbot. He actually was donating $1 for every soap to a land preservation fund or something like that. And so that was my first inspiration for it, was, well, if he can do it
yeah,
and sell those soaps, well, then I'm going to do that too. And the only hurdle that I was looking to cross was, well, I can't do distribution. I just didn't have time to do that. But WCS stepped up, and they were like, we're taking on Talbot, and we'd like to take on Mammoth too, and what do you think? And I was like, well, that solves my whole distribution issue. So I sent them a big box of soaps, and they put them on their site, and they sold them. So it was pretty cool.
nice. The
The
rest
pieces
of
fell into
history goes
place.
from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Really.
Yeah. No, I love it. Well, I'm scrolling through here. J-Mac, did you have something?
Yeah, sure. So, favorite safety razor? That's always a popular question. What do you like to use to shave with?
So I'm pretty much a DE guy just because of convenience. But I have a couple of straights, and I like to bust them out every now and then too. What I pretty much most commonly reach for depends on, if I haven't shaved in a while, I'm probably going Blackbird, just because that guy I can just take off, almost one pass it. But if I'm looking for something that's more of like a 2-day shave, I'll probably go with the Ellsworth, the Dracont Plus. Um, and for my daily driver, it's probably going to be the Chisel Face Legacy. Has the mildness, to be a daily driver. I also really like, and on my trip this past week, I took the S1 slant from above the tie,
Nice.
and that's a really, really good one. It's compact, it's solid, you're not going to break it. And so I like to travel with something like that, or I'll bring out a vintage razor. But it's been a while since I really reached for vintage razors on a regular
Nice.
basis.
Good collection of razors there. Nice.
Yeah.
I dig it. I
Yeah.
dig it.
No slop there, man. That's awesome.
No. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of that thing is I'm a hobbyist first. Like I'm into buying all that stuff just like
We
the
love
rest
it.
of you guys. So
And we love it. That's the best part.
Yeah. Gardner, what do you have, bud?
So do you have like one note in particular that's like your favorite or kind of a common thread through all of Mammoth soaps?
Um, not specifically, but I do know individual materials that I just really, really love. Like there are things that you could wear on their own with nothing else. So like oak moss, um, lab denim, certain types of woods, you could really just take that and put it into a little bit of alcohol and use that as a fragrance. At least I could. And you don't have to spend all this money and all this other stuff because some of these materials are perfumes in themselves, basically created by nature. But just the way humans are, we like to try to improve on nature, and that's kind of a fun thing that you can do with
Which one's your
perfumery.
favorite? Do you have a favorite?
Of those fragrance notes, I mean, probably lab denim, I find to be, it's a very common ingredient in amber type fragrances, and you could really go in a lot of different directions with it. You can go really, really low in the mix and just give a bit of warmth, or you could really highlight it, and it would be kind of that growl. But I like all of the resinous stuff, anything from lab denim to the real sticky tree resins, uh, pines and evergreens and things like that. Um, Frankincense slash olibanum. I mean, all of those. They just really they smell so complex and so just great and delicious on their own. There's so many perfumery materials that are more like single note, but I'll always have a love for the naturals because of that. So a lot of my fragrances end up having a pretty high portion of naturals in them, and then I kind of tweak and sort of ornament the naturals with aroma chemicals and single,
Then, like,
isolates and
I
stuff
guess
So,
the
like that.
flip side of that
yeah,
is there a note that is just a major turnoff to you that you just really don't like?
yeah.
Um, it really depends. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that smells terrible on its own, but it has a function, you know? So if you really start getting deeper and deeper into perfumery, I mean, some people will say, well, I never want anything that has, civet or fecal notes or whatever it is. And it's really what you mean is you don't want an overdose of that. You don't want to smell that present. But there's a lot of stuff I'm sure that you love that has it in trace amounts. That's some of the magic of, perfumery is being like I'm not trying to make a fecal note, but I can warm up, say, a vanilla note with a little bit of so like for instance, Huga. A lot of people love Huga. It's very fresh, and has a very warm, comforting dry down, which is wonderful. And a lot of that stuff comes from the sort of like pine and citrus and oak moss. And then the comforting sort of warm dry down is that like kind of creamy, musky kind of a thing. But then I added a little bit of castoreum, like real castoreum, which if you smell it on its own, that comes from the beaver's butt, doesn't smell all that great, but just a little bit of it, brings that warmth to it, without being like a funk that's like a turn off.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? But as far as like scent notes that I don't like, it's definitely that light to aquatic.
Seems like it's more
Can't stand it.
aquatic.
I can't stand it. And a lot of neroli too. Like neroli is a tough one for me. Like it really has to be in the right context for me to like. Sometimes it's just for whatever reason, it smells off to me.
Oh,
So
this is a
I don't
good
know.
one. That she leads right into this one. I love her for it. Crystal, my wife, she asked, if you had to start all over again, what, if anything, would you do differently?
Like if I had all the same knowledge now, um, I really don't know. I mean, there's all the little pitfalls that you make, all the little mistakes along the way. Um, yeah, it's really hard to say. I think I probably would have. One of the hardest things about the community is that when you make personal connections with people and then someone crosses them in some way, well, then you feel personally
Mhm.
upset about it yourself, right? So the only time that I've ever really regretted something that I did or said was when I went too
Mm.
far on behalf of somebody else. And I just felt like, you know what, maybe I didn't need to do that. But at the same time, it's hard to apologize for caring
Yeah.
about something,
Yeah.
you know? You can apologize for acting poorly, and there are definitely times when I wish I could have taken back certain words. But you can really only live forwards. But Crystal, if I had to do it over again, I would just try to be more understanding that people have hard stuff happening in their lives, and even the biggest jerks. I was asked to keep it PG, but you can imagine what I would have said. Even the biggest jerks inside are probably just scared little boys, trying to get attention, trying to get love, trying to get people to care about them. And I think that if we think about that, then we'll be a little more compassionate, not only to other
Nice.
people, but even to
Love it.
Fair
ourselves.
point.
Well said. Well said. I have just, and it's just a basic, simple thing because I'm like pretty much a daily shaver every other day. So how, like, is there like a certain point where, like, let's say like me, I like to be clean shaven all the time. So is there like a certain point you're like, okay, it's this number of days I have to shave. If not, I'm just going to be, furry little man peach. So, I mean, is there a point when,
Absolutely. So for a while, I actually tried to do the 5 o'clock shadow because I just hated shaving so much. So I just had like a little trimmer, a beard trimmer, and I would just kind of keep it. But now, for me, it's really like this area over here is kind of
yeah,
like all weird growth pattern. So it will start to kind of like spike in on itself when I just kind of lay or whatever. And so that's the point. And it's about 4 days in where I'm like, I can't go any longer, other than trying to look professional and clean and so on for work or for people or whatever it might be. But yeah, about 4 days in, it starts getting itchy, and then I'm kind of like scratching, and then it's turning red.
furry little man peach. That's
That's
what
when
I
it
think
has to
about
happen.
it. Like I just shaved last night, and I'm like, I am ready to go. So we got a live in the morning at 9 a.m. that I'm desperately looking forward to because I just, duh.
I'm the same. I didn't shave. Well, I didn't shave today because I shaved later yesterday evening, and even most of today, I was like, no, I don't even need to shave. But then now it's past 24 hours. That's getting to the point. It's like, oh yeah, tomorrow's gonna be a nice shave in the morning. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like Gardner. You were talking about some of the hardware you have. He's got some bangers in his den too. So
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good razor. I really like Wolfman razors. I've got a couple of those. Those are probably my favorite.
Oh yeah, you are a sucker for a good razor, aren't you?
Nice.
Whew.
Yeah, I love the WR2. I've got a 1.05, and that's a great razor. I find myself forgetting that I have it because
Mm-hmm.
I'm into the new stuff. But I could easily just use that for the rest of my
They're
life.
great, and
It's a
they
great
definitely
razor.
feel. Sometimes you have to question if there's a blade in it or not. They're just such smooth razors.
Oh, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. I've always wanted one.
Wolfman
Like
and
the looks of
titanium,
them. And,
absolute perfect razor in my mind.
oh,
Look, don't get me wrong. You could get a 34C, get a tech. You don't have to
no, it's
spend the money.
true.
You'll
And
get a
I
great
have an
shave.
affinity for his Edmonton counterpart, the Carve. So
Carve.
Yep.
Oh, I love
Carves
my
a great
gold.
shaver too.
Ooh, buddy,
oh yes.
love it. Let me see. Got another question in here. Um, Greg Tardif. So, do you still hate shaving?
No, I definitely do not. I actually really do enjoy the whole ritual of it, and I even got a couple of soaps and a brush for my little guy, and so since he was like 2 or 3, he's been lathering up, and I'm gonna shave. He doesn't have a razor. I'm gonna shave, so he just kind of
No,
See,
lathers up the soap and
that's
puts
all
it
I'm
on his
talking
face
about.
and
That's going to
washes
be
it off.
another
It's
question
really
that
fun.
I know she's probably getting ready to type it, and she's right here next to me. Does your wife wet shave?
She's definitely done it before, but but definitely not a regular like me.
Nice. Yeah, it's me, Crystal, and our two daughters, all wet shave. So it,
Yeah, I think it's definitely a market that, it's so great and so much better. And if you get a nice big brush, you can cover a large surface
yeah,
area. So it
yeah.
makes sense, you know.
And I mean, what I love about it too, I mean, like for an example, like Indigo Mood, right? Um, me and all three of them could use that. So you don't run into what
Yeah,
I would
definitely.
see like on the store shelves, like one, the pink tax, and two, the direct marketing, like this is only strictly for women or strictly for men, right? So I mean, something like that, for an
Right.
example, all four of us could use it in the house. That's what I love about, another
Oh,
thing I love
absolutely.
about this
Yeah.
hobby. I mean, all of us could attest that. I mean, there's stuff that probably all of our families could use
Mm-hmm.
in our household, and not just say, well, this is just a man soap. No, I have no problem with using a floral, or something citrus or gourmand or anything like that. And there's a lot of stuff that Crystal will use that would be considered like, darker or a little bit more masculine, as you would say. She has probably, if she likes it, she likes it.
Yeah, I think that I think the gendering of fragrance
Yeah.
is just marketing. Um, it's really just marketing. And so, if it makes you feel better, you want something really manly or really womanly, then that's fine. I feel like you should go for it. But yeah, it's marketing. So you're exactly right. I think some of the sweetest fragrances that I've ever smelled have been super manly,
Yeah.
tobacco fragrances. Just incredibly sweet. Or BR 540. I mean, that's obviously more of a unisex anyway, but so many guys love that one. And it's cotton candy sweet. It's very, very sweet. So I don't think it's something that you have to be ashamed of. And the same thing,
Mm,
florals, I mean, rose, lavender have been classic masculine scents for a very, very long time. But now I think that people are definitely starting to look beyond the binary in terms of gender, in all aspects of society, and people are really saying, well, what about the
yeah.
person? What about individual taste? And there's less of, I know that my son's going to grow up in a world where there's less kind of requirement for him to be a certain way in order to get approval. And so I'm glad for that
Yeah.
change for sure.
I mean, that's like me. Product tres flores. That's 3 flowers for my hair. So putting flowers, rose scents and stuff in my hair. I mean, it actually makes me more
Yeah,
masculine doing
it's
it, but
great.
that's what
There you go.
but here's another thing too. I mean, like what Crystal asks, would Mammoth consider making a women's line of fragrance?
I think the stuff that we put out is already unisex. We've never really tried to be a man's brand. It just happens to be that the large percentage of the wet shaving hobby is men. But I will tell you that we have a lot of women that love House of Mammoth, and they're faithful and they're dedicated. They're all about it. So I would definitely recommend, to any man or woman to go ahead and try any of our fragrances. They
Yeah.
can
What's
go
the one
for
that we
anybody.
smelled? Beloved and Sandra.
Yeah, both of those are great. But I think a lot of women would also love upcoming one, Rumble
Yep,
or
she just said,
Embrace or
and she
Tobacconist.
does like
Um,
tobacconist. So
yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think that there's a cultural pressure on women to say, well, you shouldn't smell like tobacco. But then what about all the sort of sexy, you know, female perfumes that smell like, cigarettes and stuff like that? So it's really just like I said, it's the same materials that people are using in each one.
yeah,
They're just putting different packaging on it. Um, it really, like I'm telling you, I've looked at a lot of formulas, and so the same stuff is in both of them. It's just the push, the model that's, the famous person that's on the ad campaign, the music, the colors. If you know anything about marketing, it's all about they take market research and they try to figure out how can we sell as much of this product as we can. And it has no connection necessarily to the actual what's actually inside
Yeah. Yeah. And
the bottle.
for the female artisans out there, like Shannon's, Heather's, I mean, they're in a male predominant, industry, like you're saying, and they have put out some amazing work. So, and they be able to cater to, us degenerates so righteously. So, yeah, so they they know what they're doing. So more power to them. That's so awesome. Where like you said, it's just that those type of boundaries, are starting to break away, where you're seeing stuff that all of us can use and be completely fine with it.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it
Yeah.
is really just feeling like you have permission to
Oh,
enjoy
I
what you
wear
enjoy.
rose.
You know, I'm sure there's always been guys who have been in the shower and they reach for their wife's fruity body wash
Yeah.
and they love the heck out of it. You know, that's always happened. You know, it's not like something changed in that way. Like we're all human beings. We like a peach or a strawberry or whatever it might be, and we like walking through, a garden and smelling a flower. So the only thing that changed is that people are feeling a little bit more free, that they're not going to be made fun of for enjoying something that's made for men or made for women. The marketing, they can go against the marketing. I feel like it's all a lie and it's manipulation anyway. So I actually get some enjoyment out of rising above that and being like, nope, you're not going to tell me what I like. I'm going to tell myself
that's
what
fair
I like.
Ooh, man, she's got some, man, I'm gonna have you sit in here. She is just awesome. uh again, my wife, she asked, having reached the pinnacle of success, who do you look up to? Who inspires you? Great question.
So within the hobby, I mean, it's really just the people who've been doing it the longest and still are at the top. Um, so that's why, for instance, working together with Will at Barrister and Mann was such a great thing for me. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this, he made the soap that was my first soap, really. So getting a chance to work with him
Brilliant.
was amazing. Um, Cody from Noble Otter, Scott from Decoration. I mentioned Rob from Chisel and Hound, Vita, of course. These are all people that I work with them not just because they have the biggest exposure, the biggest audience. It's not it's not a financial decision. Even though they do have followings, but they have followings because the stuff they put out is quality. Those are the people that keep me sharp, that really, no disrespect to anybody, but a lot of the new artisans come out and they put out a flood of releases and it's like, here's my take on Aventus. Well, nobody needs to hear your take on Aventus because it's the same thing that everybody else made, just slightly different because you made it instead. All you did was take the pre-made fragrance and you put it into your soap and then you put your label on there and it's basically a vanity project. There's a place for that, but it's not something that inspires me. I want to push forward and make stuff that hasn't been made before. And I want to make something that people are excited about, that people are like, wow, that's never been there. I want to try that because it sounds interesting. Beyond the hobby, I mean, you really have to, if you're going to be making things, you have to be inspired by stuff outside of the hobby because the hobby gets very like insular and incestuous or whatever the word is. So looking past and getting inspired by other things, for me, I really love music. I love art, movies, that kind of thing, reading books, that kind of thing. And so kind of like expanding your mind and hearing about, the world and the way that other people see the world, because you have such a limited perspective as just being one person. So yeah, that's
Nice.
really what
So
inspires me.
you're looking not among your peers, but you're also seeing other people that not only just have been in it, but that it's just you're feeding off of each other. So that energy, that common thing, it's so awesome. And and there's ever a point where if, let's say, two things may kind of correlate between each other, but it's coming from different houses. So, I mean, there's only so many things you can do before that tends to happen. Um,
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're making sort of like single note fragrances, like a lavender scent, a citrus scent, a few fougere or whatever, or in a certain category,
yeah,
like I'm making a barbershop scent or a barbershop fougere, there's going to be a ton of overlap. And then, of course, if you're making dupe fragrances, there's a place for that because people really love dupes. If you say, hey, I know I really love this particular dupe, so I'm going to get that in soap, and that's going to be really fun for me. You know, there's definitely going to be overlap though, because what if somebody else buys the same thing that you bought? They went to the same site, they bought it, and it's actually happened before. I love Jared's Thirsty Badgers list of dupes, and you can see kind of like everyone that did the same, dupe. That's where a lot of the crossover, happens. But as far as two people approaching an amber scent, let's say, if you're making it yourself from scratch, well, there's not going to be overlap unless you're both kind of following the same formula and you're actually copying somebody else's formula. Um, but most of the people in the shaving soap hobby are not making their fragrances from scratch. That's why you see so much overlap and so many
yeah,
similar scents. They're all buying from the same fragrance oil suppliers, and
yeah,
so it's just
yeah. It's
natural
just
that
like,
that would happen.
all of us that do content, like make videos or anything like that, or go live. At the end of the day, we're all shaving. But it's just we all have different grain map, like you're saying. This spot is all different. Every one of us has a different grain map, so our technique is all going to be different. But we're all getting to the same kind of end result. We want to put out quality work, right?
Yeah.
Like I watch, J-Mac, and I learn a ton from what he does, especially when the straights. I am enabled like nobody's business. So when it comes to straights and stuff like that. But then that helps me to be able to help enable that beautiful man right there, Gardner, to get into straights. So, so you kind of see this type of full circle. Like I watch Greg Cardiff's videos because it's just amazing production value and the guy's awesome, but then I watch, like Peter's for his ASMRs because it's so calming. I mean, there's, no matter what, we're all shaving, but it's just our own take and how we do it, our style, that personalization, just like what you do with your product, with your brand, that's what sets you apart. And then your take on it is just, amazing. So
100%. I agree.
yeah. Yeah.
That's really good. Put it actually, yeah. I never really thought of it that way either, because like you said, like there's a ton of people that making content, and then it's easy to get bogged down in it too, right? And it's you do think there's so much overlap in every space of wet shaving, but then when you think about it that way, yeah, no, it makes sense. Everybody kind of brings their own little thing to the party, right? So I like that.
Oh, I think we broke him. Oh, we lost him. We broke Ben. Oh my gosh. He
Man
fell off
down.
the boat.
Yes, down.
Ben
Yes,
overboard.
down.
Somebody start singing to entertain them.
Sorry, guys. We lost we broke him. Hopefully he comes back. Oh man. Because he's got to come back because we got to, I know, right? Boom. Done. B-Lou.
Man, I still got a bunch of questions too.
Love it. I went on a little rant there. Broke the man. He didn't go sign off. He's not painting watercolors or something. Let me try and find him. Come on, Ben. Where are you at, bud?
I wonder if his phone died.
I don't know. I just invited him back. See what happens.
Oh, okay.
He went extinct. Oh, Tiki. That's right. That's right, Oscar. We still got Gardner. We still got AKA. An amazing artisan, by the way. Absolutely.
You guys are doing great. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we're professionals, John, at doing damage control.
I know. Come on, Ben, get back in here, bud. Get a charger. Plug her in.
You have to get used to being able to navigate stuff like this when you're dealing with a platform such as Instagram. So,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know.
painful.
Mm. So speaking of, while we're waiting for Ben to come back, Gardner, we got to watch another live churn again. But that was so calming. Talk about calming.
It was good.
Uh,
It was really good.
Yeah, like, I don't know if anybody would even be interested in it. So yeah, I'll do that.
Oh yes, we're all degenerates. We're all about watching that kind of stuff. It's yeah, no, that was great. Especially like you know, it's just you're just so matter of fact about it too, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Here's the blade. You're throwing in a lathe, and then like in about like it seems like 20 seconds, it's like the brush is done, and then you go through the sanding process. Like, yeah, here you go, and it's like, what? Like it was crazy.
I guess I could be a little more descriptive at times, but yeah, it's just kind of autopilot at this point.
No, but no, no. I mean, I thought it was perfect. Just seeing how you work and just seeing how quick, like you know, you get to work on a blank and just like that. It's like a beautiful brush handle. It's like holy crap. I could just picture me trying to do that. You know, even if I could see, it would just be a hot mess, right? So.
Yeah.
Try and message him on my own personal device here.
It's definitely a lot
I
of
tried
fun out
requesting
there.
him.
Might as well have you guys keep me company.
Yeah. Well, if I get win to get to number 14, that's gonna happen.
Win.
What's gonna happen?
Yeah, win. That'll be sooner than later too, I'm guessing. I mean,
I'm guessing so.
what number are you at now?
We have 10 in the house.
Okay. So yeah, you only got 4 more to go. Yeah. So for 2 weeks time.
Two or three on order currently, so you're gonna get there pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, we have three because we have Crystals, and then we have our youngest, April's, and then my Hobbit brush that needs to happen. Tiny little travel guy.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be 13, and then yes, would there be any more dermaplaning or foot rubs on this line?
Well, while we're waiting for Ben to get back in, you could spin that gift card if you.
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do here. Just because I asked him on my Instagram here if he could maybe reboot his computer or phone. So, well, since Gardner, since you're the new guy here, 1 to 43, pick a number.
Let's see. Let's do 17.
Nice.
Oh, threw me for a loop there. I thought you were going to go 14. I thought you were going to channel your win.
I thought about it, but I figured.
I know you did. I seen you thinking there. I was like, is he gonna? Is he gonna? No. Who is the lucky winner this evening?
That will be, well, this guy's awesome. Stacy, Addison Road. Congratulations.
There you go. Good old Canadian boy.
There you go, bud.
Stacy.
Send me some all-dressed chips when you order something, bud.
Oh, man, I had some all-dressed chips there last week because you guys were talking about it, so I got some at the groceries. I haven't had them in forever, but holy crap. I didn't go premium. I cheaped out. I went like budget brand, like off-brand, all-dressed chips. So help me God, they were so acidic. I got a canker inside my bottom lip. Like my lip like swelled out. I was like, never again. Never again.
Like eating the pork rinds, the chicharrones from the dollar store. You just know you're going to be in for bad times.
Yeah, it's 100%. Yeah. So I mean, all dressed chips, yeah, they're delicious. Just do yourself a favor, get a premium brand. So.
Yeah, we had the Ruffles down here. The Ruffles all dressed. Oh my gosh.
Those are good. Yeah, Ruffles are delicious.
Yeah, I don't know, folks. We lost him. I'm trying to see if I can invite him or if he requests. I do apologize. If not, then oh yeah, man. Dill pickle chips. Pickle chips are good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I depend. Different, same deal with dill pickle. Yeah, like if it's Lay's dill pickle, I don't get a canker from them. But if it's like, once again, it all stems back to the low budget brands, right? The low budget brands just, yeah, not good sometimes.
Oh my gosh, I think we might have to call it, boys. At the road, it's going to be me, J-Mac, Thomas the Shaver, and due north, Mark.
Nice. Oh, nice. We're going 2 for 2. 2 hosers, 2 Americans.
Was going to be Belu, but apparently he has to sleep in. So
Yeah,
but
I know.
no, but we wanted Thomas on because that man is selling out. So I mean, not like selling out like bad. I mean, his product is
His product's selling. Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Well,
Yeah.
I'll be using that new SR, of course. And well, I think you know what soap I'm using tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
So,
I'm excited for that one. You're welcome.
and he knows what brush I'm using tomorrow. So.
Oh yeah. Darn right. Okay, here we go. Come on. Let's see. He tried to redo it. I think he updated. God, Instagram. It's exactly what we were talking about.
The Mammoth got to Ben. Ouch.
There he is. Oh.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey.
All right. I went
Sorry
on a
about
spiel
that.
and then I lost you, bud.
Yeah, no, what happened was my phone died, and then it took me a while to get it back.
I knew it. The battery died. I knew it.
Yeah,
It's the end of the day. I mean, I
issue
don't know.
left and
I
right.
didn't think to go charge it again before going live.
Nice.
While you were
Sorry
talking,
about that.
Ness gave your
That's all good.
soap away.
Yeah. So we did the giveaway. Addison Road won the gift card. So he's got to buy some. Want to see one of these soaps and splashes? Gone. Addison Road.
Awesome.
Right, Stacy. We rigged it just for you. So
Yeah, rigged it for a Canadian to win. So you got to get some Mammoth, but you don't have
That's
some. But yeah, I like the Kryptonite, man. That is nice. And
Very good. That was
Indigo
actually the
food.
first one that we ever put out. It was actually a project for a fellow shaver, and he was the first person to ever hire me.
Nice.
He gave me like $100 and was like, "Can you make me like a batch of soaps?" So it was fun. We had a good time.
And
But
real quick, which was the one you said that was your wedding scent?
that's Beloved.
Blood. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That one's kind of the best like shorthand description I can give to that one is it's kind of like lavender with ice cream.
nice.
Nice.
It's got a very fresh lavendery opening, and then it gets really creamy, and it's really nice. Got some cedar in there and stuff like that too. It's nice.
We're excited to see what's coming up. I'm excited for a Shire just because Hobbit. So.
Yeah. Look, I have to say, I really appreciate you guys giving me time. I don't, get to do these things all that often, and so it's always fun getting to jump on and talk. I feel like it's really a privilege that you guys want to hear, and thank you to everybody who joined and watched. So, hope if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out. I'm always on Instagram, DM also, and in a number of other locations, social media wise as well. So, yeah. Keep conversation going.
I know Gardner had a lot more too, and we lost you. I'm sure.
Sorry about that.
The audience have questions.
Let's do some quick hits, and then I'll sign off.
Yeah,
I do have
Gardner.
one. I could. So, if you had one piece of advice for someone who's either just starting out or relatively new to wet shaving, what's your one piece of advice?
Just starting out with wet shaving, I would say use the same setup over and over again. Don't start getting caught up in buying and using all different things. Just use the same setup over and over again for a solid couple of weeks to a month until you feel like you really got the hang of it. And then when you change something, just change one thing from that base setup and learn that thing with everything else being the same. That I think would be my advice.
Very nice.
That's solid advice right there, because too many people are prone to just changing everything. It's like, oh yeah, I just started wet shaving. I had the worst shave ever. So tomorrow I'm going to use a brand new brush, razor, soap, splash, and see if that treats me better.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Look, I mean, you can get a good shave with a bar soap. So your technique is really important. So if you're not getting there, then change the blade, make sure it's sharp. But otherwise, go back at it again.
Yeah, 100%.
Go. J-Mac, you had a quick question or anything?
No, but just thanks so much for coming on tonight, Ben. I felt myself like I love doing these because I get to learn a lot more about the artisans as well. So really appreciate you taking your time on a Friday evening to step in and do this with us. So thanks so much and all the best in 2023. I can't wait to get a nose on that oceanic aquatic, like
Oh,
a
yeah.
true aquatic. So yeah, I'm really looking
all
forward
of
to
us here. Yeah.
Much
all three of us.
appreciated. Thank you so much, J-Mac. I appreciate that, hearing that from you. It means a lot, really. I think, I don't know if you guys know, but, I don't take any of this for granted. So seeing people really enjoy and people use my stuff is like really a special thing. You guys have a lot of options, so it just means something when I know that you guys are using and enjoying what I've made. So
Yeah.
all the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, like I said, for us, me, Crystal, Jason back there, I mean, this was awesome. We definitely enjoy putting these on and being able to see you guys and, learning everything and, putting a face to the brands and, knowing your guys' stories and everything is just awesome. So really, appreciate being a part of this. And, again, like what these guys said too, thank you for taking the time. So definitely looking to support and to do whatever that we can to, to help pushing the fighting that fight. So for those organizations. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, for sure. This is a definite beautiful, beautiful cause of what you're doing, man. So keep rocking on, keep fighting the fight. So, but thanks everybody, J-Mac, Gardner, all you guys, Ben, times 100, man. Thank you so much for doing this. And thank you everybody for watching. And yeah, so just keep pressing on and hope to see everybody in the morning. So
Awesome.
We'll be there.
All right. Well, have a good night, everybody. Thank you guys. See you later. Be safe tonight driving if you're driving. Have fun.
Hey, everybody.
See ya.
Night.
All right.
Bye.